Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses, presented by Saratoga Springwater. Sarah Albadwi, Andy Serling, as we kick off what's going to actually be a great week of racing.
And nice outside.
Nice weather. Supposed to be gorgeous. It was like 80 degrees on Saturday, and
It's like summer,
lots of turf
but better.
racing, lots of stakes. We got 3 stakes tomorrow, 4 on Saturday. Pretty much an entire card of the stakes on Sunday for the New York Bred Showcase Day. So for once, it took a long time. It didn't rain the first weekend. It destroyed every other weekend thereafter. But today,
Finally.
this week, racing's going to be great. So we suffered, but at least there's a little bit of reward at the last weekend of that infamous Belmont Big A weekend meeting.
I know. It's like the suffering is finally worth something.
It's not really worth it. It's just at least it's past us. But anyway, we
Right.
are looking forward to going to be a great weekend of racing. Good races all weekend long, so looking forward to that. And it's been a while, and I understand people's frustration. We certainly share it. It has
We
been,
feel it too.
Yeah, but more importantly, the customers feel it, and I totally understand. Listen, been a player for a long, long time, and then you become weather obsessed, and every time you look up and you see it, it gets debilitating. But the good news is, at least for now, that's behind us. And listen, if we get some good weather in November, we've used the turf course so little, we actually were worried we wouldn't be able to race past the middle of November because we expect to be running a lot more races on the Acra course than we ever had. And in this particular instance, because we haven't used them, if the weather stays up, we'll be able to race for the next 6 weeks on the turf course. So let's hope that turns out to be the case. Also hope that you head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code CUP25. You'll have another couple weeks or a week and a half to get through that because the Breeders' Cup, the races have been drawn, or the pre-entries have been drawn, excuse me. I think they draw Monday for all the races. Pre-entries are available. You get a $25 free bet along with that $200 sign-up bonus. What else do we have? We have the middle pick 4. And if you haven't figured it out by now, we're just going to keep showing it for some reason. Races 2, 3, and 6 in our 9 race card. Races 1 and 5 in the pick 5. What else? 12:30 to 5 today on FS2, covering all of the action. Race number 1, 6 furlongs on the turf. I know the horse is going to be a real favorite. I think the number 6, Strictly Taboo, will go back to the race 2 back at 7 furlongs. A horse that really wants to sprint. Remember last time this horse ran, we talked to the show about why it was running a mile, and Christophe Clement texted me and he said, there wasn't a sprint race I could find for him. Now, I guess the concern a little bit is where was she during Saratoga? Because she didn't work during Saratoga, so obviously there are some issues. She runs back to this race. I thought her race 3 back was very good. You see how Weekend Rags, who's going to be one of the choices later today. She was on top of a fast pace. I just think she's better than these horses if she runs her race.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I like the cutback for her. I know that having that insight about why this horse was running a little bit further and just realizing that it was a situation of circumstance. It's not as though he had any aspirations to stretch a horse out that has been a better sprinter so far. My only little concern with her is just where has she been? And off that 61 to 180 days in races like this, so maidens, going out in these state bred and restricted races, turf sprinting, Clement has such great numbers in so many areas. This is not one of them.
Right, most of those are longer intended layoffs, so I wouldn't have looked at that, but that's fine. And I don't disagree. I do worry a little about the layoff. Regardless, you apparently have taken the other Clement runner.
Splashy is a horse that will be sprinting on the turf for the first time. Second in her turf debut 2 back, was going a mile behind Spinning Colors and showed some good early interest in that route race. The ground was yielding 2 back. Nobody made up ground. It was one of those weird races won by Overacting, who looks to be a pretty decent horse overall. And he does have good numbers going from routes to sprints on the grass with maidens. He's 9 for 30 over the past 5 years. So this is one that I thought would be just a slightly better price.
Right, the ROI is $1.74 in that 9 for 30. Been a lot of short prices. Lost Overacting, did finish 10th in that race, which is a concern. And frankly, this horse has a similar concern to Strictly Taboo because this horse hasn't been out for a long time as well. So it feels like both of these horses missed a significant amount of time. I think, we'll see what happens with them. I thought that the 1A Soretta was a little bit interesting. I want to show the race she and Shaman Princess come out of. Now everybody's going to take Shaman Princess out of that race, and I get it. The problem is, probably was good being inside in that race. I think it's important to watch Soretta, not really Shaman Princess, who almost wins this race. She had her day. She was supposed to win this race. I think the winner was a first-time starter, so in fairness, and she ran fine, but I feel like they kind of gift-wrapped the race for her this day, and I bet her last time, and that was her day to win. To me, though, Soretta, who's now sort of towards the back of the pack, you're going to see her get sort of steadied back in a race that was dominated forward, at least to her benefit. She was down on the inside for much of the running, but right in here, she's going to get badly steadied out of the race, so she's already been sort of shuffled back. She gets steadied again. She ends up wide in a race dominated inside. I actually don't think she ran that badly. The problem with her is that she's not a winning type. She's had a lot of chances. She's got 5 in the money finishes and 9 starts. And unlike some of these that are a little underexposed, she's had her chances. But I do think she had a significant trip last time out. I hate the fact that she's in an entry, though I imagine she's the one getting bet. But still, I think she's a little bit dangerous near. And I would rather take her than what I'm assuming will be a shorter price on Shaman Princess, though as of now, she's a shorter price.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a ton to separate these two horses because even if you go to the start 2 back, they finish, Soretta just ahead of Shaman Princess in there, but Shaman Princess did stumble in that race coming out of the gate. So I thought that with Shaman Princess going to be more forwardly placed than she is and having less opportunities turf sprinting, I'd prefer her ultimately. Soretta, again, she has had less chances turf sprinting than overall. It might be a little bit dirtied up based on all of her races where she is going 0 for 12, but she's had opportunities.
She has, but she's also lost to some decent horses like Snowy Evening and her last race.
What about when she was second to Bunty Windermere?
Well, that was a while ago. I think her race behind Spooky Lady was fine. She wired the field and was dominant in there. I just think that she's I prefer her to the 3. Okay. And see what happens. Race number 2, big scratch in race number 2 where the speed of Uncle Moonlight comes out of the race. And like everybody, I've gone to this horse, Unbridled Bomber, and I'll let you talk about him.
I mean, I think he's just a horse that, and I don't buy into this argument much until I've seen it sort of proven, I think he is a horse that just performs better on Lasix overall. He will be getting Lasix today as he does drop out of some graded stakes company where, honestly, he didn't even run that badly. 2 back in the Suburban. He can be a little bit more tactical when he needs to be. The pace might be a concern that you have with him as a horse that does like to come from a little bit further out of it with Uncle Moonlight scratching out. But at the same time, I think we're just looking at a situation where, as you thought in the first race, he is better than these horses.
He is. In his good race, he's better, and I agree with you about the Lasix angle. If you look at him, he's 3 for 3 since he turned his form around last fall here at this meeting when he was getting Lasix, and the other 4 losses and not particularly great performances, okay, 2 and 3 back, they were without Lasix, so I do think it matters. Now, there's not much pace in this race, which does change it, and I think that moves up Systemic Change, who's probably the slowest horse in this race, but he's probably going to be the controlling speed. You have to imagine that Manny Franco will look to be aggressive. I don't see why you wouldn't be.
Precisely, and that's why I ended up moving him up with the scratch of Uncle Moonlight, because I just think that he could be a horse that trips out in this spot.
Daydreaming Boy is not bad. His form is out of town. We'll see if he can ship that form here, but he is a bit pace compromised. We'll see how it works out in race number 2. Race number 3. Race number 3 I found to be an extremely problematic race. And for me, the reason it's problematic is that the horse to beat is Volatility. But Volatility doesn't want to win. This is her lowest level she's ever run on a turf race, but she's also had perfect trips and races, gotten there and hung miserably. I mean, I bet her in the day that she was 3rd back at Belmont. I think it was June 2nd. I mean, it was like they gifted the trip. I was counting my money, and she couldn't even hold on for 2nd. Next time out, another good trip at Saratoga, and they're just piling up. But she might just be better than these horses.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, when you look around, she just seems like a horse that makes a lot of sense. But again, the chances, they've piled up, and she's had plenty of decent trips that have led to nothing. So
not nothing, losses.
Well,
narrow losses.
I couldn't pick her on top. A horse that I went to in here that is making her 2nd start for lower profile connections, but I thought really ran on debut at a big price, 46 to 1 that day. She was wide. She was near the back in that turf race. She finished 4th. She did make an actual move in that race. She did make up some ground in there. So while she will have to improve in this spot, I think that she'll be overlooked based on her connections. And I felt as though she ran okay first time out.
She ran okay in a horrendous race. I mean, not a bad race, a horrendous race. And I struggled over. I considered putting her on top. I understand the appeal. I've done well with Roy Lehrman over the years, but I'll tell you something. Roy Lehrman's not exactly winning a lot of races in New York anymore. And one of the reasons is he just doesn't have very good horses. He's a good trainer, and he's a guy who's put over horses for a long time. And there's a reason they call him Wise Guy Roy. He's sharp, but this horse, people are going to see it with Shananouski. She was wide. I don't disagree. But the reality was Shannon didn't give her that bad a ride. No. And she kind of was picking up pace when it was over. I struggled. I thought about putting her on top. I'm just afraid that she made a little bit of a move in a terrible, terrible race last time out. But we'll see. In this race, I've got her 4th. I wouldn't be shocked. Listen, I don't particularly like the 3 Better Justice. She was wide last time, too. She's going to be a much shorter price. It's Chad Brown and Ira Ortiz. She might win this race, though. I mean, I'm not going to make a big case against her. Just I'm not going to make a big case against the 8. I don't trust the 5 going to those connections, but she's got races that fit in here.
Well, I thought she ran one of the better races. I just don't trust her off the claim.
I agree, but she also is a horse that couldn't get it done for better connections, but she's in this spot. Katie's Check Ride. I want to see this rider, who I think has a lot of promise, get more experience on the turf. She draws a bad post. She didn't have that bad a trip 2 back her last turf race, but she didn't run that badly in that race that she can't win here. As far as it wasn't me, do I really want to bet much money on her? No, not really. Also, not connections, 2 for 52 this year, that win a lot of races. She does have enough turf pedigree. She's 1/2 to 3 turf winners to suggest she can handle the turf. And in her debut on the turf, she got completely and totally left that day. She made a run to get into the race before coming up completely empty. But she did enough running in there and has enough pedigree for me to think maybe she's the completely unexposed horse here and it'll be a bit of a better price. So I went to her, but with absolutely no conviction whatsoever. This feels like a race where the finish could easily be a 3/8 exacta box and all the Wise Guy horses are just too slow to be good, and the Wise Guy horses are barely 6 and 7, and even the 10. I get it. I just feel as though it's a very slippery race, and I get the appeal of the 7. I just am afraid she may just be slow.
Yeah,
you know?
It's possible.
Yeah. Kind of like that other Roy Lehrman horse that we tried. They're just not good enough. Race number 4, and we'll take a look at Jolly Miss Jill's race, I think 2 back. You've got her on top. I've got her second, Sarah. She's an hour the horse to beat.
Yeah, it's kind of that simple. I mean, she's making that drop in class. She didn't run that badly 2 back. She is a horse that, while it was a dead rail day last time versus tougher horses, she wasn't really on the rail until the later stages of that race, and again, didn't even run that poorly in there. This is just a very logical drop. Last time she was at this level, she won. She has good speed towards the outside, and just couldn't find anybody else that appealed more.
I can totally understand that I've got her second. I think she's an extraordinarily likely winner in this card, especially because, though it's actually one, I think did one of Linda's two-plus year layoffs get scratched?
In the last, yes.
She was in
but
danger
this one's still here.
of setting a record for maybe the only trainer we've ever seen running 2 horses in the same card off a 2+ year layoff. The truth is, her numbers, I think I looked it up in the last race.
They're not bad.
Well, they're not good. It's that off a year plus layoff in dirt sprint, she's 2 for 5 with 3 hitting the board. So she hasn't run many of them, but they have won. This is a 2-year layoff. I didn't look up 2-year layoffs. I doubt there are any others in there. At one time, she was good enough to win this race. No one's going to throw her out, but she's a little tough to pick on top.
Right, exactly. And just a horse that you say maybe Jolly Miss Jill wasn't here. Sure, she's suddenly a little bit more appealing, but at the same time, it's not like she's coming back against nobody that's making a drop or in decent form right now.
As far as Amity Island, on her good races, she's good enough to win this race. And it's not like her form had tailed off so miserably. Let's look at who she lost against. Sunset Louise, Sacred Wish, Fireline, Tough Street, horses that are in Cali Magic, where she finished 4th. They're in a completely different area code than these horses are in. And she ran figures that are fast enough to be competitive. I get it. It's low-profile connections. I totally understand. But the reality is that she's good enough to win this race. I mean, you compare her to a horse like Maggie, who's 7-2 on the line. Maggie can only win this race if the 6 can no longer run anymore, the 5 can no longer run anymore, and frankly, the 3 can no longer run anymore. She's a more likely winner, in my opinion, than Maggie because she's just faster, and Maggie is slow. She can't the rail at 3 to 5. The rail was good last time. I mean, how can she possibly win this race? And at least Amity Island can win this race based on her races. I don't trust her, but she's probably going to be every bit of that 5 to 1, isn't she?
Yeah, I would say so.
Maybe higher.
You're looking at a trainer that's 2 for 49 over the past 5 years here, so that's why you're getting the price you're going to get. But I see the angle that she has been facing much, much tougher company.
I wonder in that 2 for 49, how many were under 10 to 1? I'm going to guess it was less than 5. I could be wrong, but I have a tough time seeing Linda Fisher running too many horses that were under 10 to 1. And she did win 2 races, and I kind of wonder what her record is with horses that had any chance in a race, because she's running a lot of horses, I think you'll agree, are just hopeless on paper.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
This horse is not hopeless on paper. She's had a little bit of a layoff. Maybe she needed it. I figured I'd take a shot, though I'm with you on the 6. She is way the horse to beat. Race number 5, a turf sprint. Nice to see these horses get a chance to sprint in the turf. And we'll take a look at Weekend Rags and Royal Dancer running back on July 8th, which was the last race for Royal Dancer, finished third. It's two turf races back for Weekend Rags. They lost to Loon Cry, who also the favorite in the first race had lost to, who was putting together, 3 straight wins, and then she had a somewhat of an excuse second place finish in a good race here the other day.
And against Open Company as well?
Yeah, no, she's legit, and I thought she ran well in this race. They were moving up front. Thought her race was a good effort. And the other thing is her race on August 27th, I think it's been somewhat confirmed that that was a period where you did not want to be on a rail on the Mellon Turf Course. And she spent the majority of the race on the rail before angling out in the stretch. Had a bit of traffic in that race. I thought she ran reasonably well. And I just think Weekend Rags, I know it's Irad Ortiz, it won't be much price, but I think she's much the worst to beat.
Yeah, both her and Royal Dancer are the two logical types in this spot. I have no big argument against either of them. They both make a lot of sense. I think that Royal Dancer might be a little bit more forward perhaps now, but they'll both be forwardly placed. I don't have some sort of big argument against either of them. With Line Right, this is a horse that was facing Open Company last time out, ran 4th, now back in against State Breds, and while she broke okay in her last start, she was further towards the back of that race. The race was won on the front end. Thought she made up okay ground against horses that might be a little bit too tough for her as she now faces State Breds again. So thought I'd get a slightly better price on her, but I don't have any big problem with Weekend Rags or Royal Dancer.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big a price she'll be. She got a 73 buyer last time. Her lack of speed bothers me. I want horses that are more forward. I get it. I just feel like her lack of speed is compromising her race after race after race, and the fact that the two horses she mostly has to beat in here are forwardly placed horses.
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
me, at comparable prices, it puts her at a disadvantage, though obviously I don't disagree. She's a player in this race at some level. Autumn Glory will probably take some money in here. And speaking of horses that may end up somewhat compromised, as she has no speed. We'll take a look at her race back on May 14th when she finished second to Finest Work. Now, this was May 14th of 2022, and this is a long layoff for Christophe Clement. Finest Work, of course, ended up turning out to be one of the better New York bred fillier mares running last year, running very, very well in stake race, including, I think, a win. She kept good company, but now she's got to go 6, and she's got to do it off of this 2+ year layoff, and she's 4-1 on the line. And you talk about Christophe Clement, I'll show you a stat for his numbers off of 250+ layoffs in the turf. They're not terrible, but they're not that good, and at a short price, I'm looking to bet against her. Though, frankly, I didn't think these numbers were that bad for this kind of layoff.
No, they're not. I think with her, I worry that she ultimately does want to go a little bit further.
Me too.
She broke her maiden going 1 mile and a 16th. Those 2 races were 7 furlongs. Not that she can't possibly handle the 6 furlongs, but I don't think that that's ultimately what they're going to want to do with her. I think that they'll end up stretching her back out. So I don't know that she's appropriately spotted for where she will ultimately want to be. And of course, she does have that layoff to contend with.
And she doesn't have any speed. She's going to be in the back of the back with the 4, and the 4 has better recent form. So, and they're comparable prices, at least on the morning line.
Right. If
So
they
in
end
that
up being
case,
similar, I'd prefer the horse with the recency.
I don't disagree. The late pick 4 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah Bodway and Andy Serling as we go through today's card. And keep in mind, nice racing and great weather. Really looking forward to this weekend. It feels like such a welcome relief after what has been an extremely trying time for everybody, particularly you. Race number 6, there really is very little form to go on, and the only horse that had turf form, Spirit Prince, once again doesn't get in and will make the 3rd of 4 career starts in a stake race in the Awad, where he'll be favored, I imagine, over the weekend. Would have been a heavy favorite here if he had gotten in. I think the horse they'll probably end up falling on is the one that we picked second, Live to Ride, who has the obvious turf pedigree and didn't even run that badly on the dirt.
Yeah, I ended up keeping him as my top selection on the dirt because the workouts on that surface were actually still pretty good enough to contend, and I don't think ran that badly in that off the turf race that a couple do come out of in here. So now likely gets over to the surface that this one prefers.
You would think, and he's going to be the favorite in this race, and I don't have a big argument against it, I guess. I mean, will the 11 Harton be favored over him?
They do like to bet these horses, don't they?
They do, and it's, I mean, I like the Street Bosses, but it's got to go long. It's Irad Ortiz. I didn't see any turf pedigree whatsoever to speak of that makes me want to bet this horse.
And the numbers for Pletcher doing this are not great.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty quick give up with this horse who didn't run that badly first time out in the dirt in what may have been a reasonably quick race. We'll see how that fig holds up. It's also a fig that could end up, I think the second horse came back and ran 6 Beyer points lower in the next start. Might end up being a little bit in the high side. So, why'd you take Marceau?
Just a horse that has plenty of turf pedigree and stayed in that off the turf race, and again did not even run that poorly. Now getting over to what I think will be his preferred surface, and also isn't this a great name? Distorted Humor, Charade, Marceau.
I know it's named for him, but thanks.
I'm just making sure that everybody knows.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm here to
If you
help.
know who Marcel Marceau is, I'm thinking
I'm
that
sure
most
that
of them
everybody
do. I think it's a
knows.
pretty good indication. I thought this was an interesting horse because they paid an enormous amount of money for him off what I thought was sort of a so-so workout. I don't know. Probably a horse that wants more distance, and that was probably the feeling on the workout. But there's not that much pedigree. Yes, the Dam was a decent turf horse, won 3 of 9 starts, ran a 78 Beyer, and was kind of a claiming type, right? I mean, did produce Ego, who was a claiming type on the turf, 2 for 4 on the turf. So while yes, there's turf pedigree, there's not a lot to suggest that you're supposed to be paying $270,000 for this horse off that workout. So I'm kind of hoping that this was a horse that's something I'm missing that made them pay more money for him. I didn't think he did any running on the dirt, but he did get that race in first time, which is fine. And I agree. I didn't want to take the 3. It was going to be a very, very short price, so I just thought he'd be a better price, and I took him. I mean, I imagine some money will go for the inside to Mike Maker, who also ran some fast figures in the dirt. But this horse, it's not really a turf pedigree on this horse.
No, it's not, and it's not exactly an overwhelmingly positive move either for this trainer. So I wasn't enthralled with taking him, and he's starting
What's the move for the trainer?
Going from dirt to turf with maidens.
Oh, okay. The Dam was a very good dirt horse that ran for Chad Brown, but it's an American Pharaoh, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't want to be too dismissive of anybody in here. You've got the 5-team captain third. That horse doesn't have any turf pedigree either.
No, but do you really want to dismiss George Weaver with his first-time starters on grass, especially this year? I mean, just this year, 2-year-old first-time starters on turf. He's 5 for 12.
Right. They paid $450,000. Most of those 5 for 12, all but I think 1 were sprinters, right? By the way, did you know that somebody apparently paid $2.5 million
for what?
For that 2-year-old filly that won at Royal Ascot?
Which one?
Well, there were a lot of George Weaver 2-year-old fillies. Did he win
Crimson
4 or 5?
Advocate?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were still talking about George.
Who hasn't
Sorry,
run
my
now
mistake.
since Royal Ascot?
But is apparently going to the Breeders' Cup?
Right. I no, she won't beat No Name Metz, I'll tell you that. I don't know, maybe she'll beat some others, but she won't beat him. $2.5 million for a
That's a bit
turf
much.
sprinting filly.
It's a little bit
All I
much.
can say is to the former owners, congratulations.
I know,
Throw
right?
yourself one heck of a party, because that's a party time. Wow. That's some price.
I mean, that's pretty
Heard that from
incredible.
multiple people. $2.5 million. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they only paid
Oh, no, I
2.4.
believe you. All right, so let's see.
I guess they paid 2.2 for Far Bridge, but or was that 2.4? Listen, I get it. George is dangerous. I get it. You're probably right.
One
Don't want to
for
leave his
3
horse out.
routes,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And it was Broccardini, who's, I know they're
Who's
going
not
to try
bad,
to Breeders' Cup. It was
but-
okay, but to
yeah.
get a pretty good setup. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not. He's a dangerous guy. $450,000 for this one. Were they really thinking dirt with the turf with the Candy Rye when they paid $450,000? On the other hand, these connections, I believe, are involved in the sale of the $2.5 million turf sprinter. So they
They're
can
doing
afford
well.
to throw $500,000 away on a horse that just might not be able to run. And listen, they're action guys, so I'm sure they'll be putting that money back in. I've got Rocket
Right.
Knight in there a little bit too.
Is this horse any good?
At this point, probably not. So, but they did bet the horse, and
They
I'm going to
did.
use it's a flatter dam, so it's probably not much turf, but you and I are on the same two as the top two selections. Race number 7. I was laughing about race number 7 because David Argona made a point that I
He
had
did.
made.
It was kind of funny.
That I had made a while ago about the race 2 back was the one that decided the trainer's title because that was Chad Brown that finished second. But I'm almost sure this was the race where you said to me, I talked about a ridiculous drop down it was, and you said, well, maybe they're dropping down to try to win the trainer's title. And I
And you said, no,
I can't
they're
believe
not
the
doing
owner,
that.
you can let me finish. I said, I can't believe the owner would let Linda Rice lose money on a horse to try to win a trainer's title that she has next to no chance to win. Well, you turned out to be right. Now, on the other hand, Linda claimed this horse back for 40. This owner allowed her to do that and then claim the horse back for 40. Linda, don't lose this owner because this is the owner of the year. This guy should get an Eclipse Award. I'm not sure if he's either the biggest fool, but we're all fools in this game anyway, or he is the nicest owner of all time.
Well,
This
if they
is
win
nuts,
today,
right?
I mean.
It's not winning today. You could pick her all she wants. She's not winning today. What do you possibly like about her here?
Why are they going back in for this horse for this price?
I don't know, but what's the difference? Where are her dirt races on a dry track that can win it? And frankly, a wet track, which she seems to prefer, where are her races that are that good? Isn't she a horse that's better on a wet track? And even then, it's pretty
I
dubious.
wouldn't totally disagree with that, but at the same time, what opportunities has she really had to run over a dry track?
Oh, she's had
overall?
plenty. She's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She got a 56,
All
a
of them
57, a
except one.
56, a 56. But she ran the same races when she was in good form that she ran when she was in
all
your
of them-
position when apparently those races don't matter.
Well, all of them were first made in Special Weight Company, and then she's only had one start over a fast track on dirt since
she-
she's been in the claiming range.
Right, and she was 8-5, and she was 7-2,
She finished third.
and she ran abysmally.
She finished third.
Okay, so speed figures don't matter in this
They do
particular case.
matter. Weren't those better horses? Fancy Azteca.
It doesn't matter. She runs the same figure she always runs. I get it. I don't like her at all.
This is not the toughest starter allowance of all time.
No, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think of the numbers, the horse that she beat off
Oh.
a year-plus layoff of Chad
Nothing.
Brown's? Right. I mean, look whose race she's coming out of. Don't you think of Dancer Doro will finish third? I get it. I just don't like her at all. I
That's
mean,
fine.
listen, I'm not a fan
I don't really
of
like
hers.
Marsal, so it's okay.
Well, Mersal has been losing races she could have won. She's been short prices. But to be fair, she was wide 2 back against a good rail. And last time, I don't disagree. She didn't run great in this race. Maybe she wants a little less distance, but you don't think that she was running against better horses? You don't think Soft Verdana, Jolly Miss Jill even, these horses are better than who she's facing today? This is a pretty bad group.
Yeah, I'm with you. Last time out, wasn't she not always a path or two off the rail in a race?
I didn't say she was on the bad rail.
No, I know, but this is something that I would probably end up picking her if this wasn't the case. But she was always a path or two off the rail. A horse that beat her towards the inside was on the rail the majority of that race, Bonadju. I don't think that horse is that good, and I don't
Okay.
really love that.
Okay, but she still ran figures that are significantly better than yours. Listen, I don't love her. She's 8-5. I don't want to sit here and do a lot of time spending Mersal. I just think she's found a race that she's just supposed to win because her main competition are probably Roman Goddess and Ghostly Girl, and they got smashed by that horse that you don't like at all. And, you've got them second and third over Mersal, and they didn't do a stitch of running against them, though I think there's an argument that maybe getting back to a dry track will be helpful to Roman Goddess, but she was bad last time.
Yeah, she was. I don't disagree with that. Look, Mersal, to me, I think that she had a good string of races. And while, yes, she stepped up and she faced tougher company, she wasn't running as well in her last couple of races, to me, at least.
I don't know. It seems to me she's run similar races, just found tougher competition. I'm not going to hang my hat on Mersal, who, believe me, I didn't want to pick. But once again, I think Bax is better than a wet track. I don't see anything about her form on dry tracks that suggests that she's competitive. The best thing she has going for her is Linda. Try it again. I mean, I guess getting back to the dirt, but she lost that good form she had earlier this year.
Boss
She didn't
Lady
win
Kim
anyway.
had every advantage last
Boss
time.
Lady Kim can't win on paper, right?
Right.
I mean, Icy Reply Little tough to make on paper. Lost to Beautiful Karen is a little tough to make.
Yeah.
I guess she's 4 for 39 with 12 seconds. There just isn't anybody in here I could take. I didn't want to take Marsalis. To me, she was the least of the evils in a race permeating with evil. Race number 8. Well, I will say one thing about race number 8, and I think you'll agree.
Mr. Kringle.
If there isn't at least an honest pace in this race, with the presence of Indian Mischief, who won one of the phoniest races of the entire year last time, Spiritual King, who has legitimate speed running in this race, Laurel Valley, who absolutely can be forward, though may not be quite as fast as those two. But you would think with those two, I mean,
You
if
would think,
Spiritual
wouldn't you?
King doesn't go, you really have to ask yourself why the connections bring him here. This is a fast horse. He's, in fact, faster than Indian Mischief.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think he's faster than Indian Mischief. And I also think Laurel Valley is faster than Indian Mischief, who got to absolutely crawl.
Well, that's not quite fair. Indian Mischief's pace 2 back was fast, so I don't agree with that. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, how do you compare the pace that Indian Mischief set 2 races back to the pace that Laurel Valley set in his last 2 races?
I just mean his
he is
last
faster.
race.
Well, his last race is a joke, but his race 2 back, he is a faster horse.
Okay.
I mean, unless Indian Mischief gets left, he's going to be in front of Laurel Valley unless Kendrick goes into a full-out drive and Jose doesn't even want the lead. I mean, I think with you at Laurel Valley, I think your biggest question is how comfortable are you with him rating?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. But that's the thing with him, that I think that he was facing some pretty tough company last time out in his last race. And he stayed on pretty well in there to hold on. And that was his first start against winners. Now he gets back in against New York breds. I mean, Royal Spirit and Cyber Ninja both came back to improve, though they reversed the order of their finish. I think that you're just looking at a horse that could be going in a decent direction. And I don't know if he can rate. And I think that that's a very fair question to ask. But I know that he'll be right there.
You know, Cyber Ninja got a horrifically bad ride last time, by the way. I don't understand what Jose was doing dead last in a paceless race. That horse is not that slow. And Jose's smarter than that and should have had that horse in a better position. He just threw the anchor down at the start of the race. I get your argument for Laurel Valley. I don't like him today. I wonder if he improved more distance. I wonder if he just got, well, hang on a second. His last race is galactically better than any race he's ever run. His race 2 back, if you think he ran well 2 back, I don't know where you're going to be. Sarah's going to be out for a couple days, but wherever you are, bet $10 million to win on Slap You in Your Face. Because Slap in Your Face should be 1 to 9 if you think that Laurel Valley ran well 2 back, because Slap in Your Face ran significantly better.
No, I just mean whether or not you think that he does need to go further to be successful.
Well, far and away, that's not what I said. What I
Okay.
said was, I don't know that he's not a horse that ultimately is going to be better going longer distances. Because it's very clear that far and away the best race he ran was the mile and 3. I don't disagree with you. Based on his last race, arguably, all things being equal, he's the horse to beat. Because he ran very well last time. It wasn't a fast pace, but it was what it was. It was what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, catch that party would be 1 to 9 in this race. So yeah, I agree with you. But where the heck did it come from, Sarah? His 2 sprints are sort of mediocre. I mean, that race, they're just not good. So either he's gotten a lot better, which he might have, or he really got better with more distance when he was able to sort of control and just sort of, listen, I don't know exactly why horses get better with more distance.
Yeah, I just don't think the mile and 1/8 is going to be problematic, because when you go back to his sprint races, he was going 7 and 6, and then he won when going a mile and 16th, and then
I didn't
ran.
say it was going to be problematic.
Okay.
I said if he runs the race he ran 2 back, he has no chance.
Yes.
If he runs the race he ran last time, he's the horse to beat.
Yes, we agree
Now,
there.
maybe he just got better as a horse. Maybe you're right. But I'm saying that I think you do have to entertain the possibility that he just got better when he got to sort of air it out going longer in those situations.
Sure.
I don't think he's a bad pick. I don't like him, but I can definitely understand your argument. If somebody said to me, you got to argue for him, I'm with you on that. The horse I don't like is One Headlight. You've got him 2nd. I've got him 4th. He can win. I'm missing something with this horse because David's been a fan of this horse. Nick Tamero likes this horse today.
Do you want to know what you're missing?
Yeah, what am I missing? What was good about this race? I thought he was totally mediocre.
No, he wasn't good in this race. It's the start where he comes out of the race that Mr. Kringle was in, where he was kind of the only horse that had at least some traffic, where he wasn't able to go forth and make a run.
But he
and
wasn't
Mr.
far off the pace, and it was a slow pace, and he went backwards on a slow pace.
But there was some legitimate traffic, and the only horse to make up any ground at all in that race was Mr. Kringle. So maybe you argue that given some clear opportunity, he could have done a little bit better.
But wait a second, he was ahead of Mr. Kringle in that race. I'm confused what you're talking about.
No, he ended up being further back than him.
But he was ahead of him in placement in the race.
Yeah, then he started falling back, and then he was behind him.
Boy, I don't see it. I really don't. I could be totally wrong. These are connections that win a lot of races.
Did you have any interest in Mr. Kringle before he scratched?
Yeah, but he's not a winning type.
Right.
And I think he ran better, Mr. Kringle. At least he did some finishing. I don't like his race. You seem to think he ran well two back. I don't. I don't disagree. His maiden win was okay.
Yeah.
I thought that race, he had every opportunity to get it done. He wasn't that wide. There were horses closing in that race, and he just was running at the end of the race. He's a one-paced horse. He's got IRAD. He's not going to be 7-2 in this race. He feels like he's going to be 5-2 or 2-1. And I may be wrong about him. I'm not a big fan. I'm betting on LeChase in here because I don't know what price. And David made him 9-2, and I wonder if David was thinking, I'll make him 9-2 because he might be 3-1, he might be 6-1. If he's 3-1, he'll win. I don't think I've seen a horse in America that was as dead in the board as he was last time. He was supposed to be 6-8-5 last time. He never took a nickel. And by the way, they were right.
He didn't run at all.
Atrocious. Even with a pace holding together, he got a good ride, a good trip. He was awful. He runs his last race. He could be last in here. But he's got prior races that would win this race. So I don't know what to do with him. And I kept looking and trying to figure out who to pick in here. And I thought, you know what? Maybe there was some reason they knew he wasn't going to run last time. Whoever they are, he could be a terrible pick here, or he's just better than these horses.
I got to be they once. It was really exciting.
No, occasionally we fall into a horse's bet. What about Jetmin 10, who will show, and here's the race with Mr. Kringle.
Good, so then we can take a look at how One Headlight is
Where is
ending
he?
up behind him.
Who
He is...
In the green
where is
hat.
he? Yes, so
Okay.
see how Mr. Kringle is going to angle?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now he's behind him, and he has
Okay.
traffic, and
He
he's
does?
looking for a spot. Yes, and now he's thinking, do I get to dive towards the inside? And now he just has nothing, and there's no more time. And Mr. Kringle, the number 6, is the only one making up any ground in this race that was gone 1-2 all the way around the racetrack.
I disagree.
Okay.
I see him as a horse that was running in place back there. I didn't see him ever making a forward move. Maybe he was out of position there. I don't get it with him.
It's that no one really made a move.
Well, Mr. Kringle made a little bit of a move.
Yeah, but he's not here. I actually really liked him coming out of
But
this
the other thing
race.
is, he's going to be favored in this race. What about Clear Conscience, who people seem to like? You've got him 4th, obviously not a big fan.
Yeah.
I didn't think this horse did any running two back, better horse or not. Other horses ran much better. There's a new gelding, though.
I don't know what to do with him. He's a little bit more lightly raced. He hasn't run that badly at times. I don't love him, but
Compromised by a slow pace last time.
yeah.
He was overbet last time, but maybe he's okay here to price. I don't think it should be ignored that Timbuktu gets in.
Yeah, no, he'll take money.
I don't care if he takes money or not.
You like him?
Yeah. What's wrong with him? Well, let me ask you a question. You've got the 9 second, and we've had a long dissertation about why he can win, and you may be right. Why is he better than Timbuktu? Why is he better than Timbuktu?
I don't have a big argument that he's so much better than him.
Timbuktu was behind him on August 3rd, finished ahead of him. Got that big pace, but he did run the 84 buyer. At least he's delivered in a way. Got compromised last time on the slow pace. He did save ground last time, but he was compromised by
favored
that
last time, right?
slow. Yeah, and I mean, he was favored in there. I mean, I think he's a major, major player in this race getting it off the AEs, especially if you think this race is going to have pace. I mean, if you think this is a race, the proverbial that the 9 can win, is Timbuktu a slightly better version than the 9? At probably a bigger price?
Hasn't One Headlight had less chances?
No, they're starting to pile up. I mean, I don't know. He had his chances. But Timbuktu won a race in his last 3 starts. So did he. He got an 84 buyer. One Headlight got a 73 buyer. So I don't know. I think Timbuktu's a better horse, a proven better horse, who will be a bigger price that has a similar running style. They're both sort of closers and pace dependent. See what happens. Interesting race.
Yeah, this is a good race.
Yeah, no, I agree. It shows when we get on the turf, we can get some fun race to talk about. Race number 9 is a fun race. We got a 12-horse field with, even after the scratch of the Mighty Sugar and Spice. I think this is the second scratch, this horse.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know that for sure, but I believe you.
So, Good Morning Kiss.
Another horse making first start off of layoff. Not quite that long for Linda Rice.
Well, a year, just about 11 months.
She just has good numbers with situations like this. Off 180 plus days, maidens going maiden special weight to maiden claiming. She's 6 for 14 past 5 years. One of them 11-1. Others reasonable prices, under 5-1 for the most part. 10 of those 14 in the money. I mean, this is just a horse who's making that logical drop. Might not be any good, but just a logical type.
No, this race, how can you not think she's a player in here? I thought Two Redheads, we'll go back to a race on January 19th, two back. I thought this is a race where she didn't get out of the gate well. You see her stumble right there. It wasn't a stumble that cost her a lot, but she did go down pretty hard. And I actually thought she ran fine behind the horse Caro Sugar, was actually all right. I think she improved 10 buyer points in her next start. Speeds.
Didn't Caro Sugar win one of those stakes races too?
I think she won it overnight or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought she ran okay. And then last time she dueled, obviously something happened. I know she was claimed by Linda, but I mean, Cantor Mossies have been having a good run at Saratoga. They've been a little quieter here, but their horses are still running okay. And I don't know, I thought this horse made a lot of sense in here.
Yeah, I mean, they do a great job. I have a lot of respect for their operation, but claims off Linda Rice and also off the 180 plus days. They don't have the greatest numbers. It is a small sample size. They're 2 for 20 doing so, but I thought this one might end up needing a start, though. It does make some sense.
I think in this race, you know, there's just because, I mean, I think you look through this race, where are you going to go? They're going to bet Gotham Gray, but this horse that can't run on the turf and now is trying the dirt.
And Clement is 1 for 14, switching surfaces. And
it's a better turf pedigree. Bank Holiday seems silly. Countess Constance, I wish Steve Bick the best of luck. He's all agog about it, but good luck to him. Sweet Liberty is a horse that I won't be surprised if she gets a piece of this at a price. She's had races, but her form is just disintegrated. I mean, we've tried Montauk Mystique and Strange Fruit against weaker. I just feel like you want new faces on these. You know, I mean, Darling Star, I love Dave Donk, but he's 1 for 23, which I'm sure you looked up with first-time stars and maiden claimers and dirt sprints.
Yeah, a new face would be appealing, but just not connected.
I have to one of my favorite horses, though, the Crocheron Kid, but more of a turf horse. I love the Crocheron Kid.
Army of Thoughts?
The Army of Thoughts, I think it's a fair question. What was this horse really doing on the turf? And, you know, Jamie Begg worked for Mark Casse, and the Mark Casse barn has a great history of running horses on the wrong surfaces to start their careers and doing well when they switch from turf to dirt. So horse, the Dam ran 80s on the dirt, 60s on the turf, is a half to Ernie Banker, who was a New York bred who ended up down at Oaklawn, who was a dirt horse. It's not exactly a turf family. Army Mule, I just think the horse might be getting the right surface on the drop down here, and in a race where, who are you afraid of here?
Nobody.
I mean, it's just, I mean, you've got Montauk Mystique and Strange Fruit second and third. I wouldn't bet them. If somebody gave me $100 and said you can only have this if you bet it on these two, I just feel like they've been in terrible fields. And how can any, whether it's the 8, the 6, the 12, a firster, not be a better horse than those? God, they've had enough chances, haven't they, against some pretty bad
Montauk
bunches.
Mystique has not had that many chances, I will say.
Against the fields that she's been in?
She's had 2. She's had 2 opportunities.
And she's been bad.
She was hustled to the front on a day where the rail might not have been the place to be, and she was on the rail the entire time. And then last time she was routing and didn't even run that badly in there. And then
wait a second. She didn't run that badly in the race. Yes, I get it. If nobody can run, yeah, I get the 7 and 9. But you really want to bet them in here?
No, of course not. That's why I picked the 8 on top. It's not like I have some big conviction that I'm going to the windows to bet a lot of money on these 2 to win. They've had opportunities.
I am going to be strangers and strangers only in this race. We'll see how it works out. Thought it was a fun race to close out. Good card, excellent card tomorrow. As we said, 3 stakes tomorrow, 4 on Saturday. Nice card, a lot of fun. Open races on Saturday as well. Sunday, New York Bred Showcase Day. It'll be such an exciting day Sunday. Najah Thompson will be here.
Wow.
Fresh from wherever he's been lately. Anyway, thank you, Sarah. Enjoy your days off.
Thank you.
We'll try to hold down the fort without you.
You'll be
Head
all
over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, use the promo code CUP25. And we'll match you to $25, $200 initial deposit, and give you a $25 free bet. Middle pick 4, races 2, 3, and 6. 1 and 5 for the pick 5s. And we are on from 12:30 to 5 on FS2, covering all the action today. We're done. Johnny I's here, right? Johnny I's last week.
He is, yes.
Johnny I's last week before he leaves us for a warmer place that'll be here not that long. Anyway, he's up with a reprise scratch and changes. Enjoy your day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.